Alright, we should be live for the 8 p.m. Eastern Time stream. Did not make the 2 p.m. Had stuff to do. Was a bit of a busy day. We have footage here, though. We have a few things to get through. First off, we had two strikes. Or not strikes, two attacks from Iran in the past 50 minutes to an hour.
Ah, there they are.
So this is the first round. This was about 50 minutes ago.
Tel Aviv, ladies and gentlemen, Tel Aviv. Real quick, big time red alerts. Big time. All right. We have a whole hell of a lot of alerts targeting Tel Aviv, central Israel. Yeah, they're coming in hot to Tel Aviv. Oh yeah, all hell's breaking out. Okay. Bottom left, look up at Haifa. So that's Haifa sending interceptors down to help out Tel Aviv. Something up there in Cam 10. Those sound like interceptions to me. I don't think that was just one missile. I think it was multiple. We hear a lot of interceptions up there. We're hearing a lot of interceptions.
Okay, so that one happened, I think it was like roughly 50 minutes ago. This one happened maybe 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes ago.
Inbound.
You got some major...
Holy hell. Okay, look, wow, look at there. Top right. I mean, everywhere. Just look everywhere. Look at that. That is a whole lot of missile interceptors. You're seeing them on a lot of camera. There's one. Interception. Interception. More red alert.
And I found this to be, honestly, very interesting because I thought Israel was like, hey guys, you need to point those cameras down. You cannot be showing this. But clearly, what is that, Intel cam or something? They're like, fuck it, we're gonna show it anyway. We don't care.
There's a whole lot of missile interceptors. You're seeing them on a lot of camera. There's one. Interception. Interception. More red alerts. Seems like no direct hits, a lot of interceptions so far. That might be a hit. I'm not sure. We got to wait for footage. Peter Ortiz. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
So those were the most recent missile barrages from Iran. Now we're back to live feed.
We just can't see it. It's somewhere out here. But we don't have any high-res imagery. So that's that. That's that. Yeah, 10 kilometers. Yeah, that's right. There's something out there. I'll flip us back to our cameras here for a moment. There's something out there. Okay, hold up. I've got more here for you folks. What are we looking at now? Cluster munitions impacting in Rishon LeZion. Well, okay, we don't know if this is from a cluster munition per se. It could be, you know, from an explosion and it blew out the back window. It could be falling debris or shrapnel or something, right? This doesn't necessarily mean cluster munition. This could be a multitude of things, you know. Clustergate. Yeah, this is Clustergate.
It's
Right
Clustergate. Oh no. All right, moving onward. The main title, the headline title. Apparently, suspicious devices are being found either all throughout New York or they're being found near Mamdani's home. So, I don't know what the hell is going on in New York, but it's not good to begin with. Clearly, Mamdani is the mayor, and it's only getting worse.
PD has identified a suspicious device in a vehicle near Gracie Mansion. Officers have frozen the area around the vehicle and are conducting limited evacuations of the buildings in the vicinity. CB Cotton is at the scene with the latest. Hi, CB.
Hey, Alicia. Well, we're here at the intersection of East 79th Street and East End Avenue, about 10 blocks from where all the chaos really unfolded yesterday outside Gracie Mansion, which is the home of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. I actually want to step out of the way so you guys can get a better view of what we're seeing here behind me, because it's further down this street where the action is really taking place. They've sort of blocked us off here, though. So I'm going to step out of the way so you guys can see, and my photojournalist is going to push in. Down East End Avenue between 81st Street and 82nd Street, we have been told that officers have located a third suspicious device in a car that is thought to belong to one of two suspects who were taken into custody yesterday in connection with two other suspicious devices. So now we've got a total of 3 suspicious devices that have been uncovered here in the Big Apple. And we know at this point from high-level sources and from the NYPD that at least one of the devices that has been confiscated is a confirmed IED. Fox has been talking to high-level sources all throughout the day, and we actually learned today that one of the IEDs that was taken into custody yesterday had an explosive called triacetone triperoxide, or known as TATP. Fox News contributor Paul Morrow talked about this earlier today, and he said this is an explosive that has been used in other high-profile deadly terrorist attacks across the globe. And so he really he talked repeatedly about how it couldn't be stated enough that New York City really avoided something potentially catastrophic here yesterday. So just to bring our viewers up to speed, there are two men now in custody, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi. They are both around 18, 19 years old. I have learned from a high-level federal source that both men are in federal custody and now being interviewed by the FBI in connection to these devices. A source has told our Bill Melugin that both men are U.S. citizens. And so the NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, she talked about how this all unfolded yesterday. She explained that there were two dueling protests. One protest was an anti-Muslim protest, and the counter protest was a anti-Nazi, stop the Nazi protest. Clashes got underway, and that is when we saw things really escalate. Commissioner Tisch says one of the men threw what appeared to be a suspicious device, and people saw smoke and flames go up in the air. She says that man later ran down the block, got a second device from another person and ignited that second device. And she later explained that both of these men were taken into custody, and we now know their names as Ibrahim Kayumi and Amir Balat. Again, they are both being interviewed by the FBI, and the latest that we see here on the ground is that members of the NYPD bomb unit and other high-level officers are out here looking at a car believed to be connected with one of these two men that has a third suspicious device that has been located here today.
And CB, just in the area right around you and where this investigation is underway, are there evacuations that have occurred inside the neighborhood? Are they clearing people out of that area other than freezing the area, as what we've called it?
So we've been talking to a lot of the neighbors that live out here. This is, people know this area as New York City's Yorkville neighborhood. It's a very affluent part of the city, lots of high-end residential properties. And this is all coming as quite a shock to the people who call this area home. They are actually, many of them are being told they can't go back to their residence right now while police continue their work here down the street. A couple neighbors have told me they've not been given a time frame as to when they will be able to return home. So lots of the people who live here are very shaken up, very anxious. This really, marking another tense moment in what's been a chaotic week for the people who live right near Gracie Mansion.
CB, I know you said that both of these individuals are American citizens. Do you have any idea if they're naturalized, birthright, if they were born here, came here from somewhere else? If so, where from? Do you have any other information on their background?
Yeah, Joey, that is a great question, and that's something that our Bill Melugin is looking into, communicating with his federal sources. All we know at this point is that the two men are U.S. citizens, but he is inquiring as to whether they are naturalized U.S. citizens. I will point out that the New York Post is describing and reporting from its sources that the two men were self-radicalized, and at least one of the men spoke to law enforcement about watching ISIS videos. Again, that is reporting from the New York Post, but I think it's pretty interesting context given what we are seeing and learning here.
There's some wild shit going on there. They're watching ISIS videos and they're building IEDs. What the hell is going on in New York? What the fuck, man?
Here on the ground.
Don't go to New York. Just don't do it.
Certainly, CB, From what we can tell, this is leftover from yesterday with that clash of the protesters and the counter-protesters and everything that was going on. And I know that they have this area frozen, but from your NYPD sources and other reporting on the ground, do you get the sense that there is an ongoing threat in terms of that general area, the rest of the city? We talked to Paul Morrow earlier about potential other IEDs being planted other places. Do you have any more information for New Yorkers out there that are feeling a little bit uncomfortable today?
Yeah, important question, Tommy. So based on what I'm seeing here on the ground, the posture from law enforcement doesn't lead me to believe that there is an ongoing active threat to the people who live in this neighborhood or New York City as a whole. Certainly, it is still concerning to hear that some type of suspicious device was located inside this vehicle. But based on the way officers are moving, they're moving sort of slow, milling about this area. It doesn't look like there is an ongoing or active threat. It appears like these officers are trying to take an abundance of caution and make sure that this device is safely removed and transported to another area.
Hey, CB, it's Joe Concha. Having lived on 96th Street, not too far from there, 80th, 81st East End Ave is not like a heavily trafficked area, right? I get that Gracie Mansion is there. That is the home of the mayor. But at the same time, the Boston bombers, reportedly had targeted Times Square, for example, with devices similar to these, because that's obviously a high target area in terms of people being in one place. East End and 80th is basically a quiet neighborhood. And given that Zohran Mamdani isn't exactly aligned with President Trump on the Iran war, he's spoken out very passionately against it. A lot of this, probably to folks at home, isn't making a lot of sense in terms of Gracie Mansion being the only major so-called target in that area, considering who the resident is and how he feels about the Iran war, which appears to be aligned with, say, somebody who would be sympathetic with ISIS.
Yeah, that's interesting context that you bring up, Joe. This is definitely not a high traffic area. Again, lots of affluent families over here with young children, some elderly families. It's very quiet, and I walk through this area a lot. So it's not what you would think of as a typical target. But I should point out that the two men taken into custody were described by NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch as counter-protesters, as a part of the group that
Counter-protesters. Bullshit. They had explosives. They were there for other reasons. That is not a protester. Okay, we have UAE releasing video of air defenses intercepting and destroying drones. We're going to watch this. We have another video of the... What is it? The Ramada in Beirut that was hit by Israeli drone strikes. And then we got some other things to go over here.
Target destroy. Target destroy. Target destroy. Target destroy. Target destroy. Target destroy, sir. Sir, target destroy. Target destroy. Target destroy.
It's kind of crazy, to be honest, that the UAE is dealing with more attacks than Israel itself is, or at least it was earlier, based on drones alone. Some of this footage is crazy. I mean, absolutely nuts. Yes, Parliament does return this week. Question period will be returning, which means it's going to be Iran, Iran, Iran. That's all they're going to talk about. So be prepared for Trump, 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 and Iran, Iran, Iran. We have the Hotel Ramada here.
I'm standing right outside the Ramada Hotel in Beirut, where last night an Israeli strike hit one of the rooms in that corner over there, killing at least 4 people and wounding several others. The strike came without warning, and we don't immediately know who was targeted. However, the Israeli military did say that they were going after Iranian Revolutionary Guard members that were operating here in Beirut. The death toll in Lebanon over the past week has now exceeded 300 people since the start of this latest conflict between Hezbollah and Israel just a week ago, and hundreds of thousands of displaced people are now worried that no place could be safe. This is the heart of the Lebanese capital. It has been safe so far in this conflict, and
So yeah, there you go. The Hotel Ramada got hit. I don't know, people were staying there that they deemed targets, or whatever the case was, but as I have heard, and as he just said, the capital, the main city, has kind of been a safe haven. I know that sounds ridiculous because it kind of is. You're in the middle of a war. There really are no safe havens, but to each their own. That happened. And yeah, Trump bad. Just wait. They're gonna hammer the conservatives. They're gonna hammer Pierre Poilievre for supporting this. You're gonna have the liberals just fucking wailing about it, even though Mark Carney is flip-flopping. The guy can't even make up his mind. It's gonna be brutal.
Get ready.
Yeah, get ready indeed. Hold on, let me go back here because I have no idea what he's gonna be showing.
Here's the video.
Oh
no.
Iran named Ayatollah
Hold
Ali
on.
Khamenei's son
Hold on.
Moshtaba to
Hold on. We're going to play this video for you. Get ready. From Reuters.
Iran named Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son Moshtaba to succeed his father as supreme leader, signaling that hardliners remain firmly in charge in Tehran. That's according to Iranian media, who said Moshtaba was chosen by Iran's Assembly of Experts more than a week after his father was killed in one of the first airstrikes in the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Analysts say Moshtaba, a powerful mid-ranking cleric, amassed influence under his father as a key figure within the security forces, serving as his father's gatekeeper. His appointment could draw the ire of U.S. President Donald Trump, who has said...
So, here's what's going to happen, and this is probably an easy prediction. The son is either going to, A, work out a deal with the United States, or B, be dead in the next few days after denying a deal with the United States. There's no really C. There's no other option. So, based on everything we have seen, it won't take much for the United States to remove this guy off the map if he decides to fuck around and find out. And there has been a lot of fucking around, and there has been a lot of finding out.
He should have a role in the choice of the next leader, a demand Iran has roundly rejected. On Sunday, Trump told ABC News, quote, "If he doesn't get approval from us, he's not going to last long." Israel, ahead of the announcement, threatened to target whoever was chosen. Fighting has escalated in the more than week-long U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran. Israel expanded its strikes on Iran to include fuel depots, and Bahrain blamed Iran for a strike on a desalination plant. Trump has pressed for an unconditional surrender, but Iran's parliament speaker said Tehran was not seeking a ceasefire and would punish aggressors. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his government would press on with the assault and strike Iran's rulers, quote, without mercy. Trump told reporters on Air Force One over the weekend that he was not seeking negotiations to end the conflict, which has driven up global energy prices, disrupted business, and snarled air travel. At some point, Trump said, "I don't think there will be anybody left maybe to say, we surrender." Iran named Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son.
Oops, hold on. That's a little report from Reuters summarizing what's...
All right, well, there you go. You have that. They have a new leader. Don't know for how long. Well, they've had a lot of new leaders over the past week, so I guess we'll see what happens. On to some not fantastic news. apparently a 7th U.S. service member has died after an Iranian attack. So they're now up to 7 total, which is not good. Not good at all. Hopefully no more. Hard to say, obviously, with how things are going. We were at 6, now it just continues, but...
U.S. Central Command just released a statement saying that soldier was wounded in an attack on U.S. forces last Sunday and succumbed to their injuries last night.
Okay, so it was from the same attack, not a new one.
Tragic news comes after Israel launched overnight strikes on oil facilities in Tehran, causing massive flames and sending plumes of black smoke across the capital. Millions of people across the Middle East are on high alert as the conflict enters its 9th day and Iran continues to retaliate. But the Trump administration says it is seeing results from Operation Epic Fury.
They're not as strong or powerful as they were 9 days ago. That is for sure. We have completely wiped out their Navy. Their Navy is now deemed combat ineffective. Their retaliatory strikes with ballistic missiles has decreased 90%. And as their attacks are decreasing, the power and prowess of the U.S. military is increasing. And so we are going to continue to completely obliterate the rogue Iranian regime and ensure that they can never possess a nuclear weapon.
White House correspondent Aisha Husni is live in Doral, Florida, where the president is spending the weekend. Aisha.
Hi there, John. Well, getting some more details about this service member, the 7th now to be killed in the middle of these attacks. And our Jen Griffin is reporting tonight that service member wounded was actually being prepared to being transferred to our U.S. military hospital in Germany when that service member succumbed to their wounds and injuries. This is a statement from CENTCOM just posted on X. They write that the service member was seriously wounded at the scene of an attack on U.S. troops in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on March 1st. Right now, they're withholding the identity of that service member until they can notify the next of kin, and 24 hours after that is when they will be able to release that to the rest of us. Yesterday, the president gave a final salute to the 6 U.S. service members that have been killed now in an attack in Kuwait as part of this operation. And the president, John, is not ruling out U.S. ground troops in Iran just yet. Watch.
I don't even want to talk about it now. I don't think it's an appropriate question. You know, I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
But, John, Israel's president...
Well, let's just hope that it doesn't get to that point, for the love of all that is good. Let's head back over to Matt Morse.
You see the big guy in the back. At this point, this is the original ballistic missile, and it blows up into the cluster. And then at that point, that primary original ballistic missile, it's just debris at that point. That's my guess. That's what I think is going on here. At this point, this guy in the back, he's done his job, and then he just fizzles out and falls away. And then the main show becomes these ones. But you know what? The debate continues. The debate continues. The after effects here. A cluster fragment. I almost said something. Ooh, I almost dropped out that R. That was a close one. Hey, that was a close one. A cluster fragment. An alleged cluster fragment from an Iranian ballistic missile. Let's just take a look. So this looks like debris from the rocket itself. We saw this one. Once again, I'm not seeing anything here that is definitive proof that these are cluster munitions or anything like that. And by the way, I'm someone, I think they are. I think they are cluster munitions or whatever. But none of this is proof of that. Could have been a million things that blew that window out. And same here. You know, if a conventional bomb goes off over your neighborhood, you might have your window, it's a shockwave, the blast, it might just blow your windows out. Doesn't necessarily mean a cluster munition went through your window. It's okay to be wrong. I wouldn't know. I've never been wrong. I wouldn't know. I gotta take your word for it. I wouldn't know. I think we have... Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen, there are right now air raid sirens over Bahrain. Bahrain is getting hit right now, or soon to be hit. Soon to be hit in Bahrain. Over there in Bahrain. Okay, we saw this one.
Yo. Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what everybody's saying.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yo, wow. Okay, do we have any footage? I don't think we have any footage of Bahrain at all.
Worldwide,
quick scan.
Facing weeks or months of higher fuel prices, even if the week-old conflict ends quickly, as suppliers grapple with damaged facilities, disrupted logistics, and elevated risks to shipping. Says Reuters. I wonder how long that's going to take to impact gas prices. How long does it take to flow through? I got to look that up.
So we have a update from yesterday. This was some crazy news that kind of just came and went, but we have a little bit more. The explosion at the U.S. Embassy in Oslo, Norway. We have some photos here of the front of the building. Sustained a little bit of damage, and they are claiming that it might have been an act of terrorism. Nobody was injured. Luckily, thank goodness, nobody was injured. This happened, I believe it was around 1 a.m. in Norway. And I believe Oslo is the capital of Norway. I could be wrong, but I believe it is. So that was some just like out of left field. Oh, we're going to attack a U.S. embassy in Oslo. What a strange thing to do. But it happened. So if anything else pops up with that, I will try to find news, but looks like they're investigating, and there's not really too much else on that. Right now we're looking over the skylines of Beirut, Cam 1 and 2, and then Tel Aviv. We also have some red alerts going here, but nothing to report just yet.
Mr. Scorp, thank you, sir. He says, my sons on the USS Abraham Lincoln. I want to say thank you for the coverage. Absolutely the best I've come across. Thanks, Matt. Thank you. And by the way, thank your son. I would suppose, sir, that that your son is about to do something very important. Your son, I would bet, is about to help get the Strait of Hormuz opened up. I would bet so. He's probably floating on a boat right around over here, and I would suppose that in the next couple days, they're going to push on up there and try to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That would be my bet. After, of course, The Air Force has been pounding the living hell out of every single rocket launch or drone launching location in the region. That, I think, is what's coming up next here. Praying for your son. That's right. That's right. That's right. Thank you very much.
We got some footage here. Hold on.
Command blew up another boat that it says was narco trafficking, and said 6 male narco terrorists were killed in the Eastern Pacific.
So not war related, but I guess you could say the war on drugs 2.0. Beirut is super quiet tonight. Incredibly quiet, actually. Based on everything that's happened, I don't know if they're done hitting the targets that they needed to hit. Them being Israel. But for a while there, it was just like constant. And then a lot of gunfire as well. Not sure if there were ground raids going on. Some sort of civil gang-related terror. Who knows? No idea. But it's very quiet. That's what I do know. Not much going on in Beirut. Not much at all.
Okay, real quick. Eye in the sky. Fresh satellite images give a rare aerial view of the damage across Iran amid U.S.-Israeli airstrikes. Satellite imagery captured burning ships and damaged facilities at the Konarak base in southern Iran, as well as significant destruction at Iran's naval headquarters in Bandar Abbas on the Persian Gulf. And as you can tell, we're blowing the hell out of this stuff. That's a good image right there. So this is before and this is after. Before, after. This was some naval storehouse. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. American Cowboy says, Matt, if this is a cluster munition, it's much different than a cluster munitions used by the USA. A standard U.S. cluster munition operates by a single air explosion releasing M42 grenades. Wow. I'm sure it would be different because, you know, everything the Iranians do is proprietary to them. They design it, they manufacture it, they weld it, it's all their own designs. It's all their own manufacture. They're not buying it from anyone else. Some stuff they have bought from China and Russia. But most of what they have is proprietary. So I'm sure it would be. You go on to say to cause secondary ground explosions then, which can cause explosions on impact. Yeah. Thank you very much. Part of why cluster munitions are against the Geneva Convention, undetonated ordnance can hit the ground and not explode until children are playing in the area, as an example. Yeah, yeah. You know, we were talking about the war crime component of this. if these are some type of cluster munition, do you think the Iranian regime really cares about the Geneva Convention? Do you think the Iranian regime really cares about this is a war crime, it's not a war crime, we got to follow the rules? Probably not. I don't think they care a whole lot about that. It's bad, though. I mean, you guys know in Vietnam, they still find undetonated ordnances all through the jungle. I mean, hell, okay, so my wife is a 30-year-old German woman living in Western Germany, where she was born and raised. When she was...
He has long been considered a contender. Iran's powerful paramilitary Revolutionary Guard answers to the Supreme Leader. And he will have a central say in war strategy. AP says U.S. is ordering non-essential diplomats and families to leave Saudi Arabia. Non-essential diplomats and families. That's what AP says. 8 other U.S. diplomatic missions in the Middle East and South Asia have already ordered all but key staff to leave. The Times report, I don't think, said non-essential. Oh, look, the Times report about Saudi Arabia said, where is it? American employees of the U.S. diplomatic mission in Saudi Arabia have been told to leave. Oh, well, they had previously told people they could volunteer to leave. This is different because you're making the people leave. But I guess that's not every single person leaving. People mentioned South American markets. Hold on.
Yeah, other than what happened maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, it's been pretty damn quiet, that's for sure.
I meant to say Asian markets. Did I say Asian or my brain just stopped working? I think I thought one thing and said another. I meant Asian markets in South Korean, not South American. Asian and South Korean. Hold on a second here. Asia stock markets, South Korea, not South America. South Korea is down 4.7%. Japan is down about 6%. Just so you know.
6%? Holy shit. The stock market's gonna collapse tomorrow. Oh boy. Here we go. Here we go.
I think you're right about that. Thank you very much. Now, no, thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday night. I'm doing a quick scan here for updates.
One of the viewers says this is World War III.
Smart move getting a non-American woman.
Well, that's share futures in Asia. That's an older article. It's the futures. I want.
That's just how life goes. Hey, a German woman happened to be the one. I wasn't deliberately hunting
Israel
a German
says
woman.
2 of its soldiers were killed in fighting with Iran's terror proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. Meantime, U.S. and Israeli forces hammered Iran's oil infrastructure in a new wave of overnight strikes. Iran continues to retaliate against its Middle East neighbors, leading to more civilian deaths, as tensions with Tehran appear to be boiling over. Lucas Tomlinson is live in Dubai with the latest on all of that. Lucas.
John, the UAE has been the main target of Iran. This country has been on the receiving end of more of Iran's missiles and drones than any other throughout the Middle East, including Israel. And Iran's foreign minister also said those attacks will continue throughout the Persian Gulf and offered this explanation why.
No, we are not attacking our neighbors. We are attacking American bases, American, installations, American assets, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors. So we are not attacking our neighbors. We are attacking Americans who are attacking us. We are retaliating.
Now, last night, a drone was shot down near one of Dubai's famous skyscrapers in a very popular part of town, sending debris falling down and killing 2 Pakistani nationals in a car. The UAE military is knocking down 93% of all the projectiles fired here from Iran. This new Emirati gun sight video shows some of the more than 1,400 Iranian drones being blasted out of the sky over the Persian Gulf. Over 40% of Iran's drones have been launched at the UAE, twice the number launched at Israel. Overnight, Iran fired 17 more ballistic missiles and more than 100 drones. All were shot down except for 1 missile which splashed down harmlessly in the sea and 4 drones which slipped through. And South Korea says it's sending more surface-to-air missiles here to help this country keep its skies clear. And another drone slipped through in the Persian Gulf, John, this time in Kuwait, hitting this government building, spreading fire to multiple floors. The building housed Kuwait's Social Security Administrations. And since we've been on the ground here in Dubai, John, missile alerts come in about twice a day, unlike in Israel, which the alert is through an app and gives you a little more detailed information about where specifically the missile or drone is going. Here it is a general alarm on your mobile phone, much like the weather alarms back home. John.
So that attack on that Kuwaiti government building, Lucas, that would seem to put the lie to Iran's contention that it's only going after U.S. forces in those other neighboring countries.
That's right. It was a Social Security building, and it's been pretty dangerous in Kuwait. Of course, the first 6 casualties of the Iran war were U.S. National Guard soldiers from Iowa based at a tactical operations center in Kuwait on the port. Then, of course, you had the Kuwaiti fighter jet in that friendly fire incident, perhaps something more nefarious, shooting down those 3 U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagles. Thank goodness it was miraculous in that case that all 6 on board those 3 jets punched out, all 3 pilots and the Wizzos, the backseaters.
Yep. All right, Lucas Tomlinson reporting live. Lucas, thank you. So Iran has been responding to Operation Epic Fury by striking at its neighbors, as Lucas was just telling us. It says that it is targeting U.S. installations, but as you would expect, tensions are on the rise across the region, and those neighbors are furious at what Iran has been attempting. Steve Harrigan is live in Armenia, just a couple of miles from its border with Iran, maybe less than that. Steve.
John, about a mile away from the border where I'm standing right now, and some real devastating scenes of destruction in the capital of Iran, Tehran. Over the weekend, U.S. and Israeli warplanes targeting not just military sites, but also infrastructure that supports Iran's military, in particular oil refineries. At least 4 hit in Tehran and on the outskirts of Tehran, really creating some devastating scenes. You have the huge orange flames going up into the sky, the black smoke, and then that oil and smoke mixing with a rainfall that created a black rain falling on that city of 17 million people. Iranians being warned to stay inside their homes, not just to avoid the bombing, but also to avoid now the pollution from that bombing. Those who have the money, the means, are often trying to get out of the city, get away by the thousands, often to quieter areas, like in northern Iran, where the war is largely untouched so far. Here's one scene we saw right along the border between Armenia and Iran. We can show you a scene here from northern Iran. We're right now standing in Armenia. Beneath us here is the Arax River. Once you get across that river, that's where Iran begins. You can see rural scenes there, some sheep, a controlled burn, and tremendous mountains in the background. This is the area where the border crossing between Armenia and Iran is still a working land crossing, so we could see it get very busy in the coming days if refugees or supplies need to get in or out of Iran in a hurry, especially if the ports or the air is completely shut down. This is the way in or out. So we could see some dramatic changes to a pretty calm rural scene here in the coming days ahead. That potential flood of refugees leaving Iran by foot has not materialized yet. Right now at that border crossing, there's a pack of taxi cabs from Armenia waiting to drive people north. Few takers at this point. John, back to you.
All right, Steve Harrigan in Armenia. Keep an eye on the situation there for us, Steve. Thank you. So with the war in its second week now, the U.S. and its allies have had their hands full with Iran's swarms of attack drones. Iran's Shahed 136 drones are easy to produce and relatively cheap at about $20,000 apiece. Stopping them is expensive, with America's Patriot and THAAD interceptors costing millions of dollars. Let's bring in Dr. Rebecca Grant, National Security and Military Analyst and Lexington Institute Vice President. I guess the good news here, Dr. Grant, is that there are fewer and fewer of those Shahed drones being launched from Iran.
Yes, the drone threat is dropping, and from a tactical perspective...
Yeah, it would. All their threats are dropping based on everything that's happened. That is easily said.
Wall Street says that's what I thought a couple weeks. It could still be a couple weeks. I mean, I if you had told me, 2 weeks ago, oh, there'll be an attack and like 8 days in, it won't seem like we're close at all to finishing. I might have been pretty surprised. One of our viewers says months, but a lot of people, I think, thought it was going to be short.
I know I did.
Remember also, right now it's Iran and the U.S., but many people, myself included, were surprised when we heard that Israel was doing it right from the start, that this was this joint operation. One of our viewers said, won't end until all their drones and missiles are gone.
Welcome back. As Operation Epic Fury continues, Axios is now reporting that the U.S. is weighing sending special forces to seize Iran's nuclear stockpile. According to the report, the U.S. and Israel have discussed sending the troops to secure the country's highly enriched uranium at a later stage in the conflict. But it would likely only take place after Iran cannot mount a serious threat to the forces involved. UN Ambassador Mike Waltz signaled this may be under consideration.
Unlike his predecessors, both Obama and Biden, President Trump is never going to take options off the table. I'm a former special operator. We have troops and assets that are focused on seizing weapons of mass destruction if needed and if so ordered.
Joining us now, former Navy SEAL and author of The Fourth Option, Jack Carr. Jack, thanks for joining us. I think it'd be important to point out you also wrote an amazing book on Beirut, just in your words and probably my opinion, kind of the root cause of a lot of this, or at least the opening salvo. When we talk about this, I think a lot of Americans don't understand military strategy, as they shouldn't. I understand that. But we use this term boots on the ground, and I think everyone goes to a vision of 100,000 troops sitting at al-Assad. And I think that this conversation is both premature and it's kind of semantics because it goes in a completely different direction. We're talking about using strategic units to accomplish strategic goals, not unlike what we saw in Venezuela, where we find out after they're in and out less than setting up bases and that kind of thing, or at least that's how it seems to me.
Well, that's right. And I saw that video of Ambassador Mike Waltz earlier talking about this. And of course, those of us who are on the ground there, as soon as we hear boots on the ground, we're immediately skeptical. But in this one here, one of our main objectives is to ensure that Iran will never have a nuclear weapons capability. That has been a pillar of U.S. foreign policy across multiple administrations from both parties. And use the Venezuela example. There's another example from about a year and a half ago where the Israelis mounted a very audacious special operations mission into Syria. And the purpose of that mission was to go inside underground into a Hezbollah precision missile facility and blow it up from the inside. So they had pre-assault fires, they had standoff weapon systems that took out early warning radars and anti-aircraft devices. They went in, dropped about 100 special operators off who went inside, blew it up from the inside, also destroyed a Russian listening post, interestingly enough, and captured a couple Iranian scientists who were also there in Syria. So similar to what our special operations forces and Israel's would probably face in Iran if they go there to, and I know Mike Waltz said to seize these facilities, but seizing and destroying are different. I mean, he might just be thinking about his language, being very careful about it, because when you seize this, how long do you then hold it for? But
Exactly.
I suspect both U.S. Special Operations Forces and Israeli Special Operations Forces are forward deployed, ready to go to carry out this mission if tasked to do so. But really, it's the Midnight Hammer from last June didn't destroy the nuclear weapons capability there. The reports I saw said it severely degraded it, but didn't destroy it. So then option 2 is to go in and destroy that from the inside.
Right. Jack, with all of your knowledge and expertise and lived experience, I just ask you to talk to the American people who are hearing certain buzzwords on TV, and they're hearing it from other networks and other pundits, and they're hearing boots on the ground, and they're hearing weapons of mass destruction, and they're getting a little bit uncomfortable. Could you kind of reassure to the best of your ability the American people who feel like they've heard this before and they've seen this song and dance? Does this feel different to you?
Well, it does feel different, but it's also, we have 20 years, our most recent experience, other than Venezuela and a couple other flashpoints, is Iraq and Afghanistan. And although there's not one model that you can apply to every situation in the world, when we hear WMD and then we hear someone say regime change and then we hear boots on the ground, then we all start to get a little bit nervous. What the hope is, and hope is never a good course of action, is that we take those lessons from the past, specifically from Iraq, and apply them to the current problem set as wisdom. We're using weapons that have never been used before in modern combat. And so this is about adapting in real time to changing conditions on the ground, because once again, you can't just take a model and drop it into a current situation and expect everything to play out the way it has in the past, because everyone is always adapting. And it's important to adapt faster than our enemy, because typically whoever adapts faster on the battlefield is going to end up on top tactically, and we need our strategic level leaders to do the same thing at their level.
And Jack, it's Joe Concha. If I told you a year ago that 9 days in that we would decimate the Iranian military in the capacity that we have in terms of ballistic missiles, in terms of their Navy being essentially not even a factor now at this point, in terms of everything, especially with Midnight Hammer and not destroying completely their nuclear capabilities, but certainly damaging it and setting it back years and years, what would you have told me? And I guess it's a two-part question. If we were to send special ops into areas to take out the nuclear facilities completely, how long would a mission like that take? So sorry, a bunch of questions there for you.
Yeah, well, the first one there, if you'd asked me a couple years ago about what this situation would look like, I'd probably go back to history and I'd say that we hadn't fought total war in a very long time, and that appears, although we're not doing it now, we're getting closer to doing that. We have been very reserved in how we have applied our military force. We haven't been very smart about how we've done that by placing our boots on the ground in harm's way, making them targets, giving the enemy a propaganda victory over us almost every single day in both Iraq and Afghanistan as those situations developed on the ground. So this is much closer to total war, although it is not yet there. But we are using the military capability, it looks like now, to its fullest extent, while taking into account, of course, the collateral damage, which we didn't think so much about in World War II, or if we thought about it, there weren't ways to mitigate that. On the second one, how long would something like that take? Well, I go back to that Israeli example because it is just a year and a half ago, and there are so many similarities to going into an underground hardened type bunker system that is protecting a weapons system that needs to be destroyed from the inside out. So that one, they were in and out of there in hours. But seizing, of course, is different than going in and then destroying or holding. So all those things are different. And once again, it comes down to adaptation. Wow.
Jack, tonight in the last couple of hours, 2.5 hours or so, we've been talking a lot about mission creep and Americans watching at home and wondering so many things with regard to Afghanistan and Iraq. And as you're watching things unfold in Iran, If you were advising this administration going forward, what would you suggest to avoid that very thing?
Well, on the messaging side of it, I wouldn't use those specifics and say never or anything like that, but I would focus on we are going to use those lessons of the past and apply them to this problem set so that we don't end up in those situations like we ended up in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is a new administration with new strategic level leaders, new elected representatives, and we are going to adapt to what's happening on the battlefield, and we will not go back to doing what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think approaching it from that respect and how we're going to take those lessons, and that's really all you can do from 20 years in Afghanistan and all those years in Iraq, and that's how you honor those people who didn't come home or those who came home and they're still dealing with the emotional and physical scars of the battlefield, is apply those lessons to this current problem set as wisdom, and that's how we honor those people.
Very, very quiet tonight. That's for sure.
The singer was home at the time, but is okay. Okay. Glad she's okay.
This is the universe as we build cities. And this is the universe.
What the fuck? Okay, so the stream just randomly started playing something. Okay, it's gone now. I was like, where is this sound coming from? We're good though, we're back. Yeah, that is completely up to Trump. I just hope we don't get to that point. I just hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's like the ultimate last, like the very, very last thing, other than like a very, very extreme action with weapons of mass destruction. I think with the technology they have, they should be able to accomplish this, but like, I don't know, man. I guess we'll see what happens. Hopefully no boots on the ground, though.
The Economist has an article about the new supreme leader. They say, this is the most defiant sign yet the regime is still intact. They chose the son of the previous supreme leader. Unlike his father, who had the last word, Mojtaba is likely to be seen as a figurehead, says The Economist. His succession shows that control of the country lies with the Revolutionary Guard Corps, the defenders of the Islamic Republic. They point out that many clerics will be disappointed. Dynastic succession in what purports to be a theocracy will be deeply unpopular with those who believe in the ideals of a revolution that overthrew a hereditary monarchy. They say Mojtaba is likely to remain hiding deep underground so as to protect himself from assassination. He has not been seen since the first strikes over a week ago. He is 56 years old.
Is he even actually alive? Are they just making this stuff up? Who knows? Honestly, with how many buildings they've flattened and how many supposed council like members and leaders and all, like, what are the chances, right? I don't know. Maybe he is still alive and kicking. Maybe he is the new Ayatollah or whatever the hell they want to call him. Maybe he is miles underground, or maybe he's in a pile of rubble somewhere. I have no idea.
He has never held formal office. Interesting. The Economist article says the military men are seemingly supplanting the clerics who the Constitution should be running the country. The generals commanding the Revolutionary Guard are prosecuting the war without civilian oversight. The Economist also says basic services in Iran are at risk with the attacks, but for now, Iranians say groceries are still available in the capital. Some officials worry that food stocks may run short ahead of the festival marking the end of Ramadan on March 20th. Interesting. The Economist also reports the widespread contempt which many Iranians had for their rulers, particularly after the massacre of many thousands of protesters in January, is giving way to anguish at the destruction of the state itself. They also say Iran's neighbors might nibble at the state's weakened edges.
The ground, it's been missiles and airstrikes and drones, but in Bahrain we are actually seeing ground battles as we speak. Let's go and see one example.
Holy shit. What is going on?
Why is that being allowed? Anyway, so moving away from this situation, big news today for the smelly Islamists, especially in Iran. Mojtaba and his little gun is now the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic for the next few days, I guess. I think it's probably best for you guys around the world to pre-prepare your RIP messages, or as we say, rest in peace messages to Mojtaba, because the Israeli Defense Forces are now officially on the hunt of this guy. I think he's not going to make the same mistake as his dad. his dad got a little bit too arrogant, and this was obviously on a Friday night when the Israelis tricked the IRGC, made them think that all the leadership of the IDF have gone home because it's Shabbat and everything's going to be fine. Saturday morning, Ali Khamenei decided to hold a meeting on the actual ground rather than go in the bunker, in the tunnel, and he was hit a little bit and he got a bit of a wound, dead. And but this guy, I think we're not going to see him in public. I do not think we're going to see his face in public. He's going to make videos from his bunker. He's not going to be that stupid, is he? Also, we don't know which bunker. He might go towards Mashhad. There is a bunker in the northeastern parts of the country. They were basically, the whole thing is divided because they were not supposed to be making the announcement today. They actually said, we're not going to announce him because, risk of him being a target. But they've made him a target. Now, these are the very, very good questions I'm going to answer, actually. First, let's go to the moment that his appointment was confirmed by the IRGC. And this is when his supporters in the Vanak Square in Tehran, in the north of the capital, they were all out on the streets like a bunch of nutters. You do realize you're going to get targeted by airstrikes. Watch these guys being very, very happy about their new supreme leader. Nepotism in action in Iran. Oh yeah, Nepo leader.
مجلس خبرگان حضرت آیت الله العظما سید مجتبی خامنه‌ای رهبر عزیز ما ولی فقیه ما.
What are they? Why would they do it in public like that? What are they thinking? Oh my goodness. That's crazy footage, though. The fact that they still even have support to that size.
Hit by the Israeli Defense Forces tonight at 7 p.m. local time. Also, I've just been informed by the powers at the top of 2CTV because, as you guys know, I am just a puppet. I'm not even in charge. Like Mojtaba. Reminder, I need a favor from you guys because, what have we done? Hang on, what is going on with this, with my life? Oh my God, okay. I've said this before, but I need one final push. A few months ago, recently...
Okay, hold on. He has other things to show here. I'm just going to skip to them.
If I get a big update, I'll let you know more. Thank you so much, Chad. Police are still searching for perpetrators and their motive, says Associated Press. They don't know the motive. The device was inside a backpack, said AP.
Okay, that's probably the device outside of Mamdani's home.
Thank you to Shaf.
Based on that incident from the other day.
Despite the crackdown, they continued to come out. Despite thousands and thousands of the local residents who were butchered by this regime, they continued to come out. They also attacked the police headquarters during the uprising unsuccessfully. Today, that establishment has been brought down by the Americans and the Israelis. There we go. Finally, another hub destroyed. We're getting sirens in Israel. I'm just going to quickly double check Tel Aviv in case we also have just a heads up, there might be sirens. Okay, not in Tel Aviv.
This was from earlier. That was probably in the other section of Israel there. Just insane footage. This guy, I don't know where he gets the stuff from, but he's got some good stuff all the time. Yeah, he's pretty funny as well.
Ah, I see. The Guardian had said that the Iran state television labeled them traitors for not singing the anthem last week. And now they're heading home, I guess. Thanks to, again, Donna Reinl. They refused to sing the anthem in one of his
base in
games.
Saudi Arabia was attacked
And
early
one
in
of
the
the
war on the
games-
second day on March 1st, once again in Saudi Arabia. And if we could turn to Iran, there's a new supreme leader running the country, the supreme leader in charge, of course, not just of the government, but of the entire military in Iran. And his name, as you can see there, is Mujtaba Khamenei, 56 years old, son of the late slain Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on the first day of the war. He was appointed or elected by an assembly of experts. Trey's a hardline cleric with deep IRGC ties. He succeeds his father, who was killed in those airstrikes by Israel on the first day of the war. And he defies the U.S. warning. President Trump has called him an unacceptable leader. Mujtaba was reportedly wounded in those Israeli airstrikes that killed his father. His mother, wife, and son were also killed. And for many Iranians, they know his name, but few have ever heard him speak. He's never held elective office or any office of any kind. He's the son of a man who ruled the country, including its military.
Yeah, agenda-free TV can be kind of boring. I'll agree with you there. He does give good updates when things are happening. And I don't think Matt's online anymore. I think he got off about 30 minutes ago or something. But I'm going to finish up with this Fox News thing here, and that's probably going to be the end of the broadcast.
Military for about 4 decades. Like his father, he's not known as an astute religious scholar. He will now likely rise to the top of Israel's kill list, now marked for assassination. Now, on the same day Iran selected a new supreme leader, attacks continue against Iran's Persian Gulf neighbors, Bahrain, Kuwait, and here in the UAE, the main target for Iran, receiving twice the number of drones and missiles as Israel. Yesterday, debris from a drone that was shot down hit one of Dubai's famous skyscrapers.
All right, so it's the same thing from earlier in the hour. That's going to do it for today's 8 p.m. Eastern live stream. Thank you for joining on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. I will be live tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Question Period. And then again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to continue monitoring the situation. Unless the situation decides to end. Which, right now, it kind of doesn't seem like it. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Adios, everybody. Have a great rest of your night.
And killed 2 Pakistani nationals in a car. Iran's foreign minister says attacks will continue against Persian Gulf neighbors. And 2 people were also killed when a building in Kuwait was also hit earlier. Now, Trey, the price of oil has now spiked over $100 a barrel. That's 50% rise in the price of oil before the war started. And earlier we heard from Energy Secretary